Dear brothers, this is going to be a shout out to my buddy Kevin today. When I was in grad school, I had just had a relationship end. And it was a rough and tough one at that. It was an ending that felt pretty inevitable, but I thought I had kind of come to grips with it. And the reality was that I had pushed a lot of emotions into a pretty dark corner of my soul. And I kind of thought that I could just manage the situation and all of the shortcomings, my shortcomings specifically, alone. But I was not the best version of myself in that relationship and at that time. And I did not handle the whole situation appropriately. And that really ate at me, even though I didn't show it. I was pretty good at keeping everything kind of under wraps at that time. But that relationship had ended basically the day before, and I was sitting on the balcony of my apartment with a cup of coffee in my hand, and my buddy Kevin came out and sat with me. So all of my buddies in grad school basically stayed with me every weekend because I was the one that lived in the town where our grad school was, and so they would be commuting in and out. And so he was staying with me that weekend. We had labs going on, and naturally everybody crashed with me, but it was just him that weekend for some reason. So he came out, he knew a little of what was going on, and he sat down and just looked at me. And then he said, "What do you need, boss?" And I gave him a look, and then the tears just started flowing. I like to think myself a relatively tough guy, but if I am a pro at anything, it is crying with the best at them. The red face, the puffy, the whole thing. A trait that I inherited from my old man, who might be the only guy who was worse than I am. And I don't know how long I was crying for, but it felt like an eternity. But what I remember most vividly is my buddy Kevin sitting out there in our outdoor rocking chair with a cup of this bourbon barrel-aged coffee that I can still smell vividly as I speak to you guys today. He never took his eyes off of me, but he didn't say anything for a while. He finally chimed in and said, "Let it out, brother. I'm not going anywhere. You just tell me if you need anything. Otherwise, I'll just be right here." And so I calmed down eventually, feeling what was certainly an overwhelming amount of relief. And all that he said to me after the tears were gone was this. He goes, "I know that this sucks, and I can't make it suck any less, but I am always here if you need anything." This was one of the greatest gifts I have ever been given in my life, and here's why. I've learned that the worst thing you can do to a brother who has confided in you or allowed himself to be vulnerable in front of you is to tell them, "Don't cry, man. It's okay. Don't be sad. It's all right. It's not that bad." You're telling them that their feelings are not valid, like they're not real. You're convincing them to put their emotions, their baggage, back in the closet. It's really not that bad. Don't cry about it. All of us know that feeling and have heard people say it, and we have probably said it as well. It's not like it's done maliciously, but the consequences of it are very far-reaching. We have educated far too many young men that they should hide their emotions. Now, do not get this confused with being controlled by your emotions. There are also far too many men who hide behind their emotional brokenness and get absolutely nothing done. They are being cowards in their own rescue, and that is the softness of men. This is a sliding scale of sorts. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you have a brother, you have a friend who is confiding in you something dark, something difficult, something they're facing, an action or a time that hurt them and molded them, and they've chosen that time to discuss it or show it to you. That level of vulnerability is a gift. He's not looking for you to make him feel like his emotions, his feelings aren't that bad, or that he shouldn't be sad or angry or depressed about them or anxious. He's looking for you to listen, to affirm that, you know what, man? That sucks, bro, but I want you to let it out. I'm here for you. I'll listen. I'm going to be your brother right now. They don't necessarily need you to solve their problems, guys. They don't need you to fix their sadness. They need someone who's going to allow them to be who they are. Human. All of you have probably heard me say this already. I refer a great many friends and clients to the book Gates of Fire by my esteemed favorite author, Stephen Pressfield. And it talks in there about how the Spartans, these stoic, violent, and surgical warriors on the battlefield, come back from their day of war, of conquering. And they can be found on their knees in tears for the ones that they have lost, for the children they've left behind at home, for their wives who are also struggling, wondering if they're even going to come back at all, for the unimaginable suffering that they just watched and were a part of. This level of emotion wasn't just allowed, it was encouraged. They had to remember that they're just mortals. They're not machines. And I think we often forget that we're humans, fellas. We're not machines. We're not robots. We can't eliminate the existence of our emotions any more than we can make the sun rise in the west. We absolutely have to control them, though. Not allowing emotions to dictate our lives. But they should also not be suppressed into the corner of our soul. That is going to kill you faster than anything. Now, your cares and anxieties should be brought to the foot of the cross, in my opinion. I make no qualms about the fact that the only place our difficulties belong is there. But God has also given us other men who can be our brothers, men who can listen, who can pick us up, who can embrace us, who can give us a hand when we need it. In order for us to be those kind of men, we have to stop telling other brothers that everything's okay and don't be sad and don't be depressed or don't be anxious or don't be worried about that. You're telling them that their feelings are nothing and that they are wrong and that they shouldn't feel them. That's foolish. Their feelings are real. Their struggles are real. More importantly, the vulnerability they're expressing is real. Allow them that time. Sit with them. Be quiet if you must. Let them know you're not going anywhere. And if you must speak, tell them that it is okay to let it out. Embrace the sorrow. Embrace the sadness. Even embrace the regret. Embrace the darkness that's in your soul. Allow it to flow out of them, be it in words or tears or both. Do not strip them of that. They are then going to feel free to let those emotions go, conquered, and ready to pursue the next steps in their life without the baggage that holds them back. Shout out to my buddy Kevin, who taught me this a long time ago, and I am eternally grateful for that lesson every day. God bless all of you. Be strong. I'm going to let my dog bark here. Let's get after it, boys.